Welcome, everyone. So glad you could make it out today. Why don't we stand and greet one another, however you feel comfortable doing so. All right, we're going to start with our nasas. I know I love talking. I love this energy. It's beautiful. I wanted to say welcome to everyone on YouTube and Zoom as well. So we're going to start with our 3 refuge commitments. And it's on page number 8, if I'm not mistaken. 7. 7, yes. Apologize. I go for refuge to the Buddha, my deeply awakened mind, the living source of understanding and compassion, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to Dharma, the path of mindful living, leading to healing, joy, and enlightenment, the way of peace, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to the Sangha, the loving and supportive community of practice, realizing harmony, awareness, and liberation, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I am aware that the 3 jewels are within my heart. I vow to realize them. I vow to understand living beings and their suffering. I vow to cultivate loving kindness and compassion, and to practice joy and equanimity. I vow to live simply and sanely, content with few possessions, and to keep my body healthy. I vow to let go of all worry and anxiety in order to be light and free. I am aware that I owe so much to my parents, teachers, friends, and all beings. I vow to be worthy of their trust, to practice wholeheartedly so that understanding and compassion will flower, and I can help living beings be free from their suffering. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. Turn to the next page. On page 8, we will chant the Heart Sutra. We say the title during that. Maha Prajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra. The Bodhisattva of great compassion through the deep practice of prajna paramita perceived the emptiness of all 5 skandhas and delivered all beings from their suffering. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is emptiness, emptiness form. The same is true of feeling, thought, impulse, and consciousness. O Shariputra, all dharmas are empty. They are not born nor annihilated. They are not defiled nor immaculate. They do not increase nor decrease. So in emptiness, no form, no feeling, no thought, no impulse, no consciousness, no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, no form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or objects of mind, no realm of sight, no realm of consciousness, no ignorance, nor extinction of ignorance, no old age and death, nor extinction of them, no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cease from suffering, no path to lead out of suffering, no knowledge, no attainment, no realization, for there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva holds on to nothing but prajna, paramita. Therefore, the mind is clear of any delusive hindrance. Without hindrance, there is no fear. Away from all perverted views, one reaches final nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future, through faith in prajna, paramita, attain to the highest perfect enlightenment. Know then the prajna, paramita, is the great Dharani, the radiant, peerless mantram, the utmost supreme mantram, which is capable of allaying all pain. This is true beyond all doubt. Proclaim now the highest wisdom, the prajna, paramita. Gate, gate, para, gate, para samgate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, para, gate, para samgate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, para, gate, para samgate, bodhisvaha. The Maha Prajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra. You may be seated. And I am not giving the talk today. We have a guest speaker today from Kansas. Just sit Zendo, Shuji. Thanks for being here, Shuji.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can everybody hear me? If not, no problem. It's just some old monk blah, blah, blahing. Nothing I say is of importance. It is so Wonderful to be back in Grand Rapids. Today's the 15th. A year ago today was the day I turned my Grand Rapids house over to its new owner. Still a little attachment. I only drove by it twice to make sure they were taking care of it. I miss this place. I love all the familiar faces I see. I love that there's new faces. So many things about Grand Rapids I like. The main thing is you guys. Thank you for being here. I am Shuji Faldine Mintzmeyer. I am a Dharma transmitted Soto Zen priest. Different tradition. It's like same song, different verse. We do things a little differently. And today I'm just going to touch on my tradition. Yesterday we did a Jukai here. I see a few faces. Jukai is officially the Soto Zen way of taking the precepts. Two of my students from Grand Rapids vowed to live by the precepts. Neither one of them are here, but they got a blue rakusu, and I'll explain the rakusu. And the other two students took a precepts for the second time, but this time it was lay entrustment. Shinkyu and Sunshin, they are wearing a brown rakusu, like my brown robes. Brown robes are teachers. Black robes are novice monks. Blue kesses, mini kesses are lay entrustment. So when you walk into a temple and see a blue rakusu, they're the one to ask, what do I do here? And they're the ones to follow because they know what's going on. In my tradition, we have one priest in my tradition said ordination is really just a lesson in fabric management. It's like, yeah, when you sit on the floor with these sleeves, you have to be careful or you will end up on your face. But besides fabric management, we have a little different order of ordinations. We're a monastic tradition. And even though you're not a monastic tradition, I don't care what type of monastery you go to, every person would really benefit from a month in a monastery. No phones, no newspapers. And as Suzuki Roshi from San Francisco Zen Center said, the only rule to living in a monastery is when the bell rings, get up. It's good. Bell rings, you go eat breakfast. I don't feel like oatmeal. They serve you oatmeal, you sit down and eat your oatmeal. Bell rings, you go to lunch. Oh man, not this again. You eat it. Bell rings, you go to work period. It's 100 degrees, do I have to go out and pull weeds? Yes. Bell rings, you go to service. Bell rings, you go to bed. 9:30, noble silence. Zip, nothing is said from the last bell to the first bell. Great practice for anybody. Anyway, we're a monastic tradition. Sidebar. So to become a priest in my tradition, it's a little more work than just becoming lay entrusted. I did not require two of my students to go live in a monastery for 3 months. So to become a priest, you have to have that monastic training. And so that's why we have lay entrustment, because that way you can have teachers. Because face it, if you're a parent with 3 kids, you can't say, bye, I'm gone for 3 months. If you have a job, house payments. So you have to be, I'll say, very lucky to be afforded that privilege to go live in a monastery. My first teacher, the one who ordained me, said also I had to go basically live with him. We didn't like each other, so we didn't really live together. I went home at night. When he went to walk the dog, he goes, I'm walking Sammy, and that way I could go home. But I was there between 40 and 50 hours a week. He said, if you want to learn how to become a priest, live with one. Get up. We did 3 services a day. We had one retreat a month where I planned a 3-day retreat. And then he got very sick. So I basically ran the temple for 3 years while he was sick. I did the preceptors and everything. So I really learned how to be a day-to-day priest, because that's what our tradition is, heart-to-heart transmission. So when I was ordained, one of my teachers came and said the average age of ordination is 60 in our tradition. And she said that is the definition of a dying tradition. So thank you, lay and trustees, for carrying on our tradition. And someday, hopefully, you can go to a monastery. After you become a priest, there's a 5 to 10 year training period. You're called a novice for 5 to 10 years. And then you can get your brown robes and become officially recognized by the Soto Zen Buddhist Association to become a teacher. Paid my dues. I'm a teacher. I'm on their newsletter. Did it change my life? No, not one bit. Just now my robe is heavier and a little, just one more piece of clothing to worry about. And that's all I'm going to say about me being a priest. Afterwards, I'll have question and answers, and maybe after service and everything, I'll be available for questions. Yesterday we did Jukai, and I'm going to talk a lot about that and how they sewed their rakusus, because those are very different. How many of you have taken precepts here? Good. I like to see a lot of hands up. It's very different, our precept ceremony than your precept ceremony. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about it, because a lot of you came to our ceremony yesterday, and you can also watch it on YouTube. Soto Zen, I heard it said that ritual is Tabasco on eggs. Our eggs are really spicy. We like ritual. Before I gave Dharma talk, 3 bows to the altar, bowed to the Buddha, bowed to you, bowed to my seat. A Soto Zen priest would never give a Dharma talk without that little bit of ritual. And it's just, ritual is a way of, stop. Where are you? Oh, yes. When we offer incense, we touch it to our forehead and offer it. It's not about the incense. It's not about making our temple smell good. It's that, stop. What are we doing? We are making an offering to the Buddha. So it has, so it's, and that's what ritual does. Many of us all said grace before meals as kids. And my son, I was over visiting him in Germany, and he has an 18-month-old, 19-month-old girl. And Ben said, okay, here comes the Christian indoctrination. They all took their hands. They go, come, Lord Jesus, be our guest. Let this food be blessed. Yay! I love it. It's telling baby Amelia, we are now eating together. Stop our day-to-day life. We're now eating. Little rituals we do gets us in the moment. Jukai, big ritual, big moment. Ju means, J-U, means receiving or granting, and Kai means precepts. So Jukai just means they're receiving the precepts, I'm granting the precepts. I like bestowing. I bestow the precepts on you. And it's more like making a space for the precepts in their life. Because we all know we can't follow the precepts. In order for us to live, we have to kill. Even if it's microorganisms we breathe. We do have to kill a carrot to eat a carrot. So in order to eat, we have to kill. In order to survive, we have to kill. But how can we do it kindly and gently? We wear masks when there's a virus. Why? I see a few. Because we vow not to kill. If I have viruses and I sit in front of me and say, oh, blah, 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 do not kill, all about the precepts, and I know I have germs, what am I doing to you? Yeah. I will say I'm so far off my script. Need to watch the time. Otherwise, in 45 minutes, somebody's going to say, okay, we're done. Students usually ask if they can receive the precepts after we've practiced for a couple years. And it's something they don't take lightly. Right before the precepts, our ceremony, we sat in that room. All four of them bowed to me and said, teacher, will you bestow upon me the precepts? And I said, yes, I will. Sitting here, every precept, will you take this precept? Yes, I will. And to do the 10 grave things, they had to tell me 3 times because I didn't believe them the first time. Are you sure? Are you sure you want to take this vow to respect the Dharma? Yes, I will. Are you sure, positive, you want to take this vow to be humble? Yes, I will. Think about it, because that's a big vow you're taking. Are you sure you want to vow to save all beings? Big vow. What does that mean? What does that mean when you have termites in your house? Wow, I took a vow to save all beings, but the termites are eating my house. What do I do? You take a vow not to kill. There's a dog next door to you, chained up on a 4-foot leash, starving to death, is pregnant on her first heat. What do you do? Oh, I took a vow not to kill. Still, I guess I can't help that dog. No, you take that dog out of that situation and give her to me. You saved 11 sentient beings. Layla's now 15 and still afraid of loud bangs. If I raise my voice in front of Layla, she still runs and hides. And I am so thankful somebody broke the precept, do not steal, to take Layla. Okay, precepts. Blah, blah, blah. I have a lot of more blah, blah, blahs, and I'm not going to say them. I'm going to say, if you want to really see the ceremony, watch the ceremony. But I am going to talk about the 3 pure precepts. We also have 10 grave precepts. And it's just like your first 5 and added more. You can Google it. I use Thich Nhat Hanh's because his wording is beautiful. It's not don't kill. It's like, let's be reverent about life and not cause harm to other beings. But anyway, the 3 pure precepts: do no harm, do good, and live to benefit all beings. At one of my novice classes at Shasta Abbey, a monastery I stayed at a lot, we discussed do no harm 9 hours. And you can bet that somewhere in Putin's mind, he is thinking he is not doing harm by attacking Ukraine. We can justify anything by saying, I'm not doing harm. Do good, same thing. We can justify anything. Whew. Live to benefit all beings. What does that mean? I think if you can live to benefit all beings, the rest of the precepts fall into place. If you live to benefit all beings, you are not going to bomb a hospital. I feel like I'm almost getting to a hell and brimstone speech. So anyway, live to benefit all beings. What does that mean? Those 2 people right there, they promised to do that yesterday. Ouch. That's a hard vow to take. Now I'm surely done talking about the precepts because I want to go into the Rakusu. We have 3 Rakusus here, 2 brown and the odd one out over there in the corner. Rakusu, it's a mini kesa. This is a big kesa. Hung Su has a medium-sized kesta. And these three people have a small kesa. Kesa is Buddha's robe. Ananda designed this, Buddha's lovely assistant, because all of people were saying, how do we know Buddha's disciples versus all the other religious people around? They said, we'll make a robe that looks like rice patties, made up of many little pieces. And at the Buddhist time, they went and found pieces of fabric laying around and sewed them together, and then would dye them some natural muted color. I brought it up to my teacher. We'd do that if we take those teachings to heart. Our kesses would now be plastic bags. There'd be some blue Walmart bags, some yellow Wayfair bags, some old white bags, and there'd be a big thank you right here. My teacher's great. No. All he said. He's only told me no like twice in my life. Once was no plastic kesses. But in Buddhist time, you picked up what you could. I did not make them go to the funeral grounds and pick up pieces of charred fabric from funeral fires. They got their fabric from Joann's. We sew, our pattern is Neo-ho style of sewing. Neo-ho is supposedly handed down from India to China to Japan, quote, without changing its original form. We know how stories go. Neo means as it is. As it is. Ho means law and truth. So when we say our robe verse, we wrap ourselves in Buddhist teaching. We are wrapping ourselves, when we put this on, I wrap myself with Buddhist teaching. So when we put it on, suddenly, what comes out of my mouth? It has to be Buddhist teaching. And that's why we wear it. To remind us, right speech, Buddhist speech. E just means clothes. Neo-ho-e just means clothing. This was brought to the United States by a monk called Aishin Yoshi Roshi. She brought it to the San Francisco Zen Center. She taught everybody there how to sew our rakusus. And Blanche Hartman, she wrote a book, great book. She recently died. She was the one that taught almost every person in the West how to sew that style of rakusu for probably 20 years. Tomoe Katagiri. Katagiri lived in Japan. He was sent to the United States to be a priest when he was young. His wife, Tomoe, she's still alive. She taught me how to sew. Nonan, my teacher, studied from Blanche. Blanche was, I think, the most respected person in Nonan's mind, and he would always talk about the lessons he learned from sewing with Blanche. Sewing is not just, I have to make this. Every stitch you take, you'd say, I take refuge from Buddha. My first kesa I made, this is a 9-row. My first kesa was a 7-row. I guesstimated 98,000 stitches. That's a lot of refuge in Buddha. I'm very lucky to have learned from Tomoe. And she was a little Japanese lady. I loved her. And the corners are really hard. The corners on the little rakusus are hard, but these corners are even harder. And she said, I now say you are the corner master. So from master seamstress, from the master Neo-ho sewer, I am the corner master. The rest of the things she didn't say that, but it's just like, I am so lucky to have known her and sewed with her. And I feel my students are lucky to sew with me, and their students will be lucky to sew with them. Because we are a heart-to-heart transmission. which brings us to the next thing that they got. We're just going to bring this down because I need both hands, show and tell. They had to write their lineage papers. And I'm going to show it to you. This is mine when I was priest ordained. Shakyamuni Buddha Botsu. Butsu means Buddha. Shakyamuni Buddha. Osho, that's great teacher. His name is right here. This is a stamp that means triple treasures, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. On his name, we put the stamp. Makakasho, Ananda, Shonu Washu, Uba Kakito, Bodhidharma went from India to China. Dogen, China to Japan. Katagiri Roshi, Japan to United States. Shokin, my Dharma grandfather. Edo, my teacher. And here I am, Jozan Shuji. Buddha stamp on my name. What does that mean to put Buddha stamp on my name? And follow the line. Where does it go? Back up to Buddha. We are all connected. One of our sutras says, we are the ancestors of the future. I'm 83rd generation, 84th generation. If you are one of their students, you'll be 85th. Your name will be here. Back up to the Buddha. Their students. Shinkyu, whatever he names his student. Sun Shin, whatever they name their student. Then right back up to the Buddha. Because we are a heart-to-heart transmission. They write these papers themselves. It's not easy. Make a mistake. It's like, oh man. My first one had 2 or 3 holes where I had to cut out and put a new piece of paper underneath because I kept making mistakes. But then the bloodline, right back to Buddha. Because we're all connected to Buddha's bloodline. Hung Su, you come after Hung Su. Hung Su is your ancestor. Hung Su teacher, he's your ancestor. Your ancestors are right there. You can trace your lineage all the way back to Buddha. From you, Hung Su, Duke Wan. They don't all have to be good teachers. They don't all have to be great teachers. But they pass the Dharma on. And that's what it means to take the precepts. You're keeping this alive. And I am now an old woman. As my partner and I always say, I'm not their target audience. I look at you young people. Buddha's Dharma is in your hands. You medium people. I think I'm your grandmother's age, I'm sure. You medium people. The Buddha's Dharma is in your hand. Old people like me, the Buddha's Dharma is still in our hands. Heart-to-heart transmission, and that's what it's all about. Doesn't matter if you wear a pretty yellow robe. Hung Su definitely has prettier robes than I do. Doesn't matter if you wear old gray stuff. It doesn't matter if you wear anything. No, we do want something on. Tangent. Reading Katagiri Roshi's story, Crooked Cucumber, a great easy read about the guy that started San Francisco Zen Center. Fun read. He was teacher, and one of his assistants ran in and said, there's a naked woman in the Zendo. And it's like, what? She's wearing a fishnet dress. This is in the 60s in San Francisco. And somebody went out and said, what are you wearing? She goes, I dressed up. This is my best dress. We have to respect that. Have a cushion. And I thought, that is a teacher. She thought she was doing well. Best dress. Do no harm. You don't chase somebody out of the Buddha hall just because her idea of well dresses may not be yours. So anyway, back to the tangent. I don't have no idea where I was before I went on that tangent. I'm done with my talk, so I will open up for questions, private, whatever. And Shane is going to do his thing.
Anyone wants to do questions, we can have the mic.
Oh, okay. So we are making time for questions.
Yes, we can have questions. Anyone would like to ask a question? Shuji, how long have you been practicing?
I have been practicing since about 1986. The first book I read was Alan Watts' Watercourse Way. And I read it, said, being Zen is like water, just blah, 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 blah. And if you see a rock go around, I thought, that is no way to be in the world. Kind of like, la, da, da. Oh, there's a rock. I'm going to move. And I was really annoyed by that. And then I went to Bridal Falls. I was hiking up in the Vancouver, British Columbia old growth forest, Bridal Falls. And I'll go see that. Walk, walk, walk. Warning, the steps were washed out. And I looked up and it's like, oh, the Bridal Falls did not like those steps up on her side looking at her. She washed out the steps. And I started looking at it. Huge rocks. She pushed out of the way. I call Bridal Falls a she. I'm not sure why. And I suddenly realized Watercourse Way can be so powerful. There's a rock in your way. You may not push it out right away, but you can carve out the Grand Canyon with that Watercourse Way. Keep your course. Water is powerful. It also takes whatever shape you put it in. And that was my moment. I became Zen Buddhist. 1986.
Shuji, I heard you speak yesterday on Wednesday.
Okay. Nonan, my first teacher, when you came to the temple, he said, don't read a book for 2 years. Many people think that's horrible advice. The longer I practice, the more I think that is so good. Books are great. I'm not knocking books. Yeah, I am, but books are great. But you need this. We need to look at each other. We need to talk. We need to have tea. You have to have that personal life. And I think of Nonan's advice, the best way to learn how to be a priest is to live with a priest. The best way to learn how to practice is to live your practice. And one of my big things, I'll say the last 4 or 5 years, is you can come here every Sunday morning and get, oh, wowed. Oh, yes, I'm so Zen. And if you leave and yell at the driver as they pull out in front of you, rah, 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 where's your practice? Dogen, the founder of the Soto Zen, said there's 3 positions for meditation: standing, walking, and lying down. Or standing, sitting, and lying down. That's your whole life. What happens if you take your meditation out to your life? And I don't think you can do that without having a teacher. The teacher doesn't have to be Hung Su. Could be your non-Buddhist spouse. Could be your 2-year-old daughter who doesn't want to say amen, amen, whatever. You need a teacher. And that teacher can be everything. The teacher is everything. But you need some sort of heart-to-heart discussion.
We have time for one more question.
I was curious to hear you talk about your teacher, living with your teacher, and offering that you like each
No,
other. How did you go into that? How does that work? Why would there be any non-like?
well, I was complaining to one of my other teachers how his name was Nonan Koweni. And I studied with him for 12 years. And we had a nasty breakup. But it's like when you have a marriage and you're married for 12 years, you know that all 12 years of those weren't awful, or you're not that stupid to stay with them for 12 years. But you can still have a harsh breakup. I was complaining to a Dharma sister. Says, Nona just doesn't like me. She says, does he need to like you? I said, no, not really. Your teacher doesn't have to like you, but a good teacher knows the Dharma. And I learned so much Dharma from Nonan. From the first time I really met him, and he said, pay attention, your life depends on it. And I thought, oh, well, that's a stupid statement. 20 years later, I'm still saying, pay attention, your life depends on it. Good lesson. He did not have to care anything about me to say that to me. It was Dharma. And we had an interesting relationship until it ended. And it took me about 2 years to realize he was my teacher at that time. And I am so thankful for everything he taught me. And at some point, every one of you here will have a disagreement with their teacher. At least one. How are you going to handle it? And will just because your teacher was a complete poop one day, sorry to use a bad word, but it could have been a lot worse. Does that mean that everything he or she taught you goes out the window? No. Especially if you studied with that teacher for years. There's something that will keep you coming here week after week, even though Shane may drive you crazy. Shane is not the Dharma. He shares his Dharma. Did that answer your question?
No, but
What was your question? What Nonan was a bad teacher, and why do we still call him a teacher? Oh.
I understand. Actually,
Okay.
you said that was lovely. More so, I guess instead of funny you don't like, I can understand having sweet instead of funny.
Yeah.
More coming in finding agreeableness, or why hold on to a non-like, just something one doesn't understand at that moment with each other, teacher, student, or other beings, or you think that you're always striving to see the likableness of something that you may not understand to begin with.
Some things are beyond liking and disliking. And this particular teacher ordained 5 monks, and 4 of them left not long after ordination. All for really good reasons that I don't want to go into.
Yes. Thank you for your questions. We're going to prepare for meditation. Oh, yes.
Shuji, would you please explain the practice of the 2-year hiatus between a teacher and a new teacher? If you leave your teacher because you're...
Oh, yes. When I left my ordination teacher, Nonan Roshi is our title of teacher, and I need to start calling him Nonan Roshi because he is a teacher. The Soto Zen Buddhist Association demands a 2-year holiday between teachers. So I could not go and find another teacher. If one of my two lay-in trustees decide today they don't like me, they cannot go to Hung Su and say, Hung Su, be my teacher. To be recognized by the Soto Zen, there needs to be a 2-year cooling off period. At the time, I was really angry about it. Now that it's been 12 years, that's good. And the idea is to keep you from teacher hopping. Nonan, in my 12 years of study with him, he said a lot of things to me I didn't like. And he'd say, I'm holding your feet to your fire. And one of the things is you need to look at you and your partner's relationship. Do not, yes, you do not. We did. He was right. I had a dog, now a lovely old fat Malamute, which is very well behaved now. I said, I need to get rid of Harry. He's destroying my life. Nonan said, no, he is your teacher. Sometimes it's like, I didn't want that dog anymore. He's destroying my house. He's definitely teaching me impermanence. Nonan said, keep him in that teacher way. I kept the dog. 15 years later, I love Harry. And I can't imagine my life without him. I could have said, Nonan is telling me to do too many things that I don't want to do and leave him and just go jump to another teacher. Teacher jumping can really stunt your growth as a Buddhist. And it's important. Get a teacher, stick with him. I'll point to Hung Su. He may be the only game in town right now. You take him as a teacher, you stick with him because he's smart. He knows the Dharma. He may say, Shuji, you need to do this. Hung Su's not my teacher, but we're peers. And if he used his teacher voice and says, Shuji, you need to look at your life this way, I know I need to because he is a teacher. And a good favorite Zen statement when people say, oh, you're so Zen. My favorite thing is the old Zen master said, I can't be a good Zen teacher anymore because I don't have the strength to hit my students with my slippers. Think about that. A long and hard time. What type of parent lets their kids play in the street? Oh, I hate to stifle their creativity. You're going to be scooping a dead kid off the street. A stern parent has to tell the kid, you cannot play in the street. A good Zen teacher will say, the stick, pop. Shame, pop. You have to do this. And sometimes you won't want to mind your teacher and you have to stick with them. I've told you a few times, my students, that I don't hit you with a slipper, but sometimes I should.
Thank you so much.
I will be available for more questions afterwards. We have another question now?
Oh, no, in
Oh.
your chair.
Okay.
We'll prepare for meditation. Thank you.
Be a short one today. Let me bow. We have a few announcements. I believe that was only 5 minutes. For the month of May, we have a Radical Dharma book club that happens the first Wednesday of each month. So the next one will be June 1st. We also have a Dharma Sutra discussion group that happens every Thursday from 9:30 is meditation, and then the book discussion is at 10 a.m. We already had our Jukai ceremony yesterday. Lojong celebration or meditation. Lojong just means mindfulness, mind training for compassion, and that's actually tonight at 6:30. So if you're able to come back here at 6:30, we'll have about an hour-long meditation. And it's also a lunar eclipse tonight, and you'll be able to see that at 11:30 p.m. Blood moon red, if the clouds stay clear. Anyways, the Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple Board of Directors meetings happens the fourth Sunday of each month. And then we also have Buddhist-based recovery meetings Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. The only day it's not here are on Wednesdays and Tuesdays. Tuesdays is on Zoom. Wednesdays at the Al-Anon North Club. And for more information, you can visit zengr.org. Thank you. And I think we have one more announcement from our board of directors. Nikki, who is, she just became appointed to the board of directors. Congratulations, Nikki.
Good morning, everybody. As Gajisu said, my name is Nikki, and I'm here to remind you that our temple is ran solely on your generous donations. So if you feel so inclined, there are dana boxes at the entrance to each temple, at the entrance of each. Yeah, thank you. You can also donate at zengr.org/donate. And if you're on YouTube, click the link below. That's all. Thank you.
Now, if we'll stand, we'll do our closing gathas on page 9. We say together, for all unskillful actions ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thoughts, now I atone for them all. Vast is the robe of compassion, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Buddha's teachings for the benefit of all sentient beings. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Endless blind passions, I vow to uproot. Dharma gates without number, I vow to penetrate. The great way of Buddha, I vow to attain. And if we kind of split in the middle, we can vow to each other as a Sangha. Thank you all for coming. And if you have any questions for Shuji, she'll be around. The back row of cushions needs to be put away. And enjoy your Sunday. Thanks for being here. Okay.